I started talking before I turned the mic on. Oh well, what's up, Shadow Faithful? Coming at you with a little Sultai Shadow. So obviously, one of my favorite color combinations in all of Magic: The Gathering, because you get access to like some cool beefy creatures like Tarmogoyf, really good removal like Fatal Push, Dismember, the Hand Disruption, and Counter Magic, which is stuff that I think you can always find success with if you just put pressure on the hand, pressure on the board, pressure on the top of the library. And Sultai kind of does all three of those things fairly well. But I know a lot of people have been interested in like the Sultai Battle Shadow that X File ran to a challenge win month and a half ago or so, whatever that time frame was. Um, I play that list a couple leagues, and I'm just like not a huge fan of the battle side of it. So I kind of wanted to do my kind of shadow. Like we'll have the shadows and the goyfs, throw in some bowmasters so we can say we're updating the list and it's now fancy and includes Lord of the Rings stuff. We got tireless tracker because I wanted some sort of like a card advantage engine. We've got Street Wraiths and Baubles to help grow our Tarmogoyfs. We've got Drown and Lock, a full playset of Stubborn Denial, Abrupt Decay. Yeah, stuff all over the place. One main deck Terrace Under. Figured we could maybe knock out like a ring. We could hit a Leyline Binding. You can kick it and hit anything bigger than that, like any big creatures, whatever the case may be. In the sideboard, a couple copies of Spreading Seas, 2 Flusterstorm, 2 Turok, 3 Endurance, really knock out the Grave decks. Another copy of Terra Sunder. Collector Roof, which is kind of like a leftover from when I had Traverse the Ulvenwald in the deck. 1 Natural State, an Assassin Trophy, and 2 Engineered Explosives. Really try to overwhelm all the artifact enchantment decks, stuff like that. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump in, see what happens. Like, who knows? Could be good, could be terrible. We shall see. No reason to hold judgment before we've actually played it. If you've seen some of the Demir list recently, I really like the playset of Dolphy in the sideboard. That could be something if you weren't wanting to go for endurance. But either way, let's start off our good old fashioned Bobble Wraith Thought Seize. See, we're up against Mono Black. I think this is Aspiring Spikes Mono Black No Cabal Coffers list. I don't think this is Mono Black coffers based on things like the Collective Brutality in the main, Takenuma. But just taking a guess. We do get down to Bowmaster, counter up this Collective Brutality, top deck of Thoughtseize for the ring. I wanted to go ahead and fire off the Drown because they were targeting to kill my Bowmaster and duress me, so they were going to take the Drown anyway. But luckily we get a couple good top decks here, like Fetch Land into the Fatal Push for the Shieldred. Last card's this Grief, so if we find an answer to that, like, we're kind of rolling. I'm not sure if Verdant Catacombs is quite the answer we need. Bowmaster, my Bowmaster is a big oof. Actually, it's a big Orc Archer. Am I right? Clever. But we get the Bowmaster there, Bowmaster back, because that's what we're doing in the year of our Lord 2023. Like, if you Bowmaster, I'm going to Bowmaster your Bowmaster, then you're going to Bowmaster my Bowmaster, the Bowmaster your Bowmaster, and then I'm going to Bowmaster your Bowmaster, the Bowmaster my Bowmaster, the Bowmaster your Bowmaster, and but at some point you're gonna Bowmaster and I'm gonna Tarmogoyf, and we're not the same. We are not the same. Opponent draws dead off their Castle Lockthwain, and we get to go to game number 2. Sideboarding against Mono Black, just trimming some Wraiths, a couple of these removal spells because I'm bringing in like Turoks and Just trying to fight on the mid-range axis a little bit better. I'll keep a drown in the lock because that can give me an answer to some amount of stuff. Keep this fetch uncracked for a little bit, but I mean, I want to flash in a threat. I think that's more important than keeping the fetch uncracked for Field of Ruin. Unfortunately, they found a Bowmaster to Bowmaster my Bowmaster, and now we're gonna Bowmaster their Bowmaster that Bowmastered my Bowmaster, and oh my god. Like after you say it enough times, you kind of figure a bit much. So they do have an undying effect for this grief, which I didn't know game one that they ran undying effects. That was not on my radar at all. So if I'd known that, maybe I would have changed up my sideboarding plan a little bit. Might have considered an endurance, but probably not. This was also a bit of a mistake. I cracked this I cracked the Nurturing Peatland in response to the Malakir Rebirth. Because I was like, okay, maybe I want to find a removal spell and kill the grief and save my token. But yeah, they get to just take my Stubborn Denial. Like, it's not the end of the world, but I feel like I played for an upside that I didn't need to play for. But we got a Bowmaster. They got a ring. We got a Drown in the Lock. Things are happening. Get a couple chip points in. Maybe our opponent, like, loses life off their ring. Draw some cards. We ping them a bunch. We're definitely saving our Bowmaster in the face of this one ring. Like, no way are we letting this Bowmaster die. If we can help it. Tear Asunder, pretty good draw. I kind of want them to keep the ring right here because I figure, hey, if they draw a couple cards and I get to ping them a couple times and make a bigger army token, then that can probably just kill them. We do get to take down this grief with an exile effect, so they can't undying it. They do find a removal spell for the token, but they fired off the fatal push before the amass resolved. So they killed the token that I was going to remake instead of waiting for me to like pump up the token and then kill it. So this is round number 2. Polluted Delta for Xander's Lounge. If it was a red fetch, I would have assumed some sort of creativity, but blue-black fetch into Cascade Bluffs makes me think that's not the case. So some sort of like Grixis control or something, but just firing off Lightning Bolt. So I really don't know what I'm up against. I don't really want to crack these fetches yet, because if I find a shadow, I want to be able to get it down to ferocious. But if I don't find a shadow, my opponent's just like blindly firing off lightning bolts at me, then not really sure what that means. Thinking maybe it's like Grixis Wizards, because blue-red Wizards has been looking pretty popular recently, so maybe Grixis is just like the natural progression up on that. Like, hey, we already play Wizard or Flame of Arnor and like Spell Stutter and Snapcaster Mage. Let's just add like a command to it or something. All right. So Tarmogoyf was not ferocious. I don't really want to fetch and fight over this Tarmogoyf when I have the Tireless Tracker. Unfortunately, like, opponent very clearly has a counter spell there. They've been passing with mana open for a while. They've got all this interaction and nothing to interact with. Finally, something on the stack. Snap Bolt is fine. We'll just go ahead and kill this Snapcaster Mage. I did notice over the course of this league that I do want another blue source pretty badly. So I ran one watery grave, one breeding pool, and I think I want a second watery grave because I found myself in a lot of positions where I wanted double blue, but I couldn't tap enough mana for what I needed to do and hold up double blue. Like here, I'm not holding up blue because I'm not fetching down to 6 against the Bolt Snap Bolt deck. But we get to keep chipping in with our army token, finding these street wraiths. You know me, you know I'm a fan of a good true name nemesis, as you can tell by the thumbnail for this video. Which, if you don't know, we joke around in stream about Street Wraith being true name Nemesis because it's like, hey, it's a 3 power guy. It's unblockable if your opponent's got a swamp. It dodges a disturbing amount of removal, like Fatal Push, Prismatic Ending, Lightning Bolt, K Command, Archmage's Charm. But no, it's just like this crazy 3/4 in a lot of the red-black mirrors, blue-black mirrors. It just comes down and can't be dealt with. So it's kind of like true name Nemesis. All right, Bowmaster pinging me, which makes me think that they've got another bolt or another Snapcaster or something like that, and they're trying to set up potential lethal. Turns out, yes, they did have the snap and the bolt. Unfortunately, all of those things are not going to resolve. So we're in a position where another removal spell kills. If we had a black basic there, then a non-shock land could have killed. But instead, we've got this Terror Sunder that we can't kick at the moment, so we kind of have to hope and pray that our opponent's top decks are not that exciting. But if they're not doing anything on our turn, then I have to assume they're not that great. Except this Bowmaster coming off the top. So Bowmaster can either ping us down to 1 or take out our army token. But now that we have a Bowmaster to Bowmaster their Bowmasters, so they can't Bowmaster our Bowmaster, we're set. They evoked this subtlety. They said in chat after they evoked it, I guess they thought it was an unsummon, and they just hadn't played with subtlety. And I was like, okay, makes sense. But in the meantime, I'm gonna Bowmaster your Bowmaster that's trying to Bowmaster down my Bowmaster. So who's the real winner? On to game 2. Game 2 against Grixis Control. Trimming some of these Wraiths. A lot of the removal. Because they're just a heavy bolt, snap, take command deck. So I don't want to be stuck with a bunch of dead cycle effects and life loss effects. Well, we got a fairly beefy hand until our opponent plays a hearse. Now Goyf is dead. With Goyf being dead, we might run into a few issues here. Thoughtseize is really good pickup, but so we see Lightning Bolt, Snapcaster, Shieldred. They find the 3rd land. We find some ways to kind of get our stuff a little bit bigger, I suppose. Yeah, I was gonna say we're supposed to play out the Tarmogoyf here. I thought we did, but for some reason I went to 2nd main phase to cast it. But whatever, not a big deal. I was really hoping my opponent would fire off the bolt on this Goyf, and unfortunately they didn't. So if they want to flash in Snapcaster and crew the hearse, they're more than welcome to. But if they don't, I'm just gonna tracker, get some clues. I was so excited to get to tracker here and like make a couple clues, be in a good spot. I've got endurance to stop snap bolt on the shadow. And then my opponent just plays a hit at Sugu and I lose my clue tokens. So I was very upset about that. Like I had a shadow, I had clues, I had shadow protected, and my opponent's just like hit at Sugu. Then went ahead and ate their own lightning bolt. They could have gone to their turn, snap bolted on their own upkeep before the hit at Sugu trigger exiled everything, but they decided to wait and not do anything and exile their own stuff. So, you know. All right. Goyf's getting in there. They've got Counterspell in the yard now. They have the mana to snap Counterspell. I've got the Endurance to protect something if I need to resolve it through Counterspell. So it's just back to a battle of the top decks. I definitely think they'll fight over Shadow. So we're going to fight over them fighting over Shadow because that's how the stack works. For anybody who doesn't know. And here we've got a spot where we can like chump block the hearse if need be. Never mind. Never mind. So this hearse is big enough to present lethal. I'm not entirely sure why they decided not to attack with it. But once I drew this fatal push, it became, okay, I'm going to attack. If you double block with the vessel and the Snapcaster, I'll fatal push the Snapcaster, eat the vessel, and then I'm just staring down the hearse. If you crew the hearse and decide to block, then I'm going to fatal push the hearse. But I kind of want to force some of these decisions before they get a chance to draw more cards, so that hopefully I can find some stuff to do here. All right, so now we've got fetch push if we need to kill the vessel. We've got just push if we need to kill the hearse. We've got Flusterstorm for the Archmage's Charm, which we'll go ahead and just like get our Bowmaster in for the storm. Not that I think that they're going to be able to stop the Flusterstorm, but hey, it's kind of free just to get the extra storm count. Kind of free. I guess they could have an X1 that I would want to ping later with Bowmaster, but it's fine. Second hit at Sugu destroys our Bowmaster token so badly. So badly. But they're at 3 and we have 3 lethal threats. So any removal spell off the top gets the kill. Non-removal spell just means we're continuing to play Magic, I suppose. We get the triple chump here. I'm going to go ahead and play out this Shadow. I know it's a little bit worse into a sweeper if they happen to have one, but I doubt they have one with like Shieldred, Bowmaster, Snapcaster, all that. But I wanted to make sure I had lethal even after Hidetsugu nuked the yards. So on to match number 3. On the play, stub into drown into tracker. Seems reasonable. Seems reasonable. The land that my opponent played is the old Beseiju with the new flavor printing, whatever we're calling it, from the new Lord of the Rings set. So it's Isengard, Saruman's fortress, but it is the original Beseiju that you can pay 2 life and make an instant or sorcery uncounterable. In this case, that instant or sorcery of choice is Calibrated Blast. So we've got Hope and a Prayer here. Like, our out is opponent whiffing on Calibrated Blast, just hitting, like, I don't know, Throes of Chaos, another Calibrated Blast, whatever the case may be. So when they go to attacks, we're going to kill one of these tokens. So maybe if they Calibrated Blast into a Throes, we can survive. And they hit a Throes. We are the greatest Magic players of all time because we were able to dodge Calibrated Blast into anything absolutely relevant. Sideboarding, I just took out a bunch of removal and said prayers. Brought in like endurances because they hit Calibrated Blast in the yard. Kept a 1-lander with double Wraith and a prayer. We obviously did not see the second land yet, so that prayer continues. But we do have a shadow. That's pretty cool. Opponent, at least at the moment, we don't believe has a way to Calibrated Blast. We can... So, it's actually really funny because I was thinking, okay, I thought seize them. I target Emrakul. They put Emrakul in the yard and have to shuffle away the Calibrated Blast here. And I was like so excited for that line. And then they played Nephalia Academy. So if you don't know Nephalia Academy, it says if a spell or ability like your opponent controls would cause you to discard a card, you can reveal it and put it on top of your library instead. So I thought seize them, and they got to just like say, oh yeah, Emrakul, and put the Emrakul on top of their library. So it kept it from shuffling away the Calibrated Blast. Unfortunately, it meant that their next draw is an Emrakul, not a Beseiju to make their Calibrated Blast uncounterable. So I get to sit here and hold up like Flusterstorm or Stubborn Denial or whatever. I get my extra blue source to have a counter. And this is another one of those reasons that I think it's pretty necessary to have like the third blue source. Beseiju is running around. Field of Ruin is fairly popular right now. Demolition Field out of the mono black decks. So I think having access to the third blue source, at least the third blue source, would be nice. All right, so round number 4. It's been a funky league, but we're actually 3-0-6-0 right now. We haven't dropped a game, which is very unexpected. But now we see Jetmir's Garden, Steam Vents, Red Fetch, Wrenn and 6. So I'm almost 278% sure it's creativity. Hope they don't have it to Teferi. Unfortunately, they do in fact have it to Teferi. So okay. Little Bowmaster action off the top. Kill the Teferi, hold up the stub. Get to do a little interacting. Maybe Stubborn Denial Prismari command. I don't know. Maybe draw a second Stubborn Denial. Maybe Deck's draws are hot fire and there's literally nothing wrong with this deck whatsoever. Okay. So deal with the Goyf. We do still have the tracker. We've got interaction. I could get down the tracker here. I could hold up interaction. I kind of decide that like my clock is not nearly good enough to trust the how do I phrase this? My clock wasn't fast enough for my interaction, my 3 removal spells to keep me in the game if they did something these next couple turns. So I wanted to play the Tireless Tracker, give them 1 draw step to hit the fetch land if they have creativity in hand. and really force the issue of getting a clock down. Kind of like we do here, where we get to kill off the token, present a fairly decent clock. Hold up Dismember in case they do make another token. And second Fable, no land, means we got this. We get to dismember one token, untap, dismember the other. I think I just go ahead and Thoughtseize for the information. Like maybe I find out something I didn't know or wouldn't have guessed, some obscure card, or maybe if they're playing Persist and they happen to have one in hand, I'd like to know about that. So it's pretty free to just go for the Thoughtseize there. All right, so keep on 6, throw back the tracker, which if you know anything about the laws of Magic means there's a tracker on top. And we'll keep this one because I do need a threat at some point. Or no, we don't keep this one. Could have sworn we kept that one. Maybe I draw another tracker. Maybe that's what I'm thinking. Maybe I just draw a bunch of lands. All right. So double bolt, pending, creativity. Take the creativity. If we find any threat, we're more than capable of protecting it. If we find 4 lands off the top of our library, we are, I guess, capable of protecting those too. Saw stubs available if our opponent top decks a creativity. We've still got lands available just in case. All right. I feel it. I feel there's a threat coming off the top. Not only is it a threat, it is the threat. The Beast de Resistance. So we're gonna fight over that. Change the equation. Okay. So I have a stubborn denial. My opponent put a change the equation on the stack. Michael, why didn't you counter the change the equation? You lost your shadow. Yeah, but I would have gone down to 6 and lost the game to double bolt. So there's your answer. All right, second threat. Really good. So now we are safe from the dwarf token. We're kind of safe from double bolt. Not really. I'd like to find one more threat so that I can start attacking. We have to counter a Fable. We'll go down to 3 to pay for a Spell Pierce. We're just going to hope that our opponent's last card's not a third Lightning Bolt. Honestly, we've got nothing else going on, and I don't foresee us getting anything else going on because we are a tiny bit flooded. But it's okay to be flooded when you have True Name Nemesis, the sponsor of our video. Also, I'm Control Freak TTV. Welcome to my only lands. Haven't gotten to use that joke in a while, so we're going to run with it. But a stubborn owl off the top should be enough to seal the deal here, and it does. So let's get on to round number 5. Going into round number 5 at 4080. So far, the league is perfect, which means we've jinxed it. Temple Garden for Halfling. definitely one of the cards that I despise seeing the most right now in Modern is Delighted Halfling. As we're sitting here with a handful of Drowning Lock, Stubborn Denial, Stubborn Denial. Opponent playing a basic swamp makes me think like Bowmasters. I think I played against this deck a couple days ago, just like Abzan, good stuff. With the Cat Oven combo, or Cat Viscera or Samwise. And I'm pretty positive that's what this is. Just halflings and grists and bowmasters and bowmaster your bowmaster and bowmaster your bowmaster and it's your boy Orcish Bowmaster coming at you again. Coming at you to bowmaster your bowmaster. But yeah, it's definitely just like Abzan good stuff. Taking a lot of the inspiration from Yawgmoth with like Goose, Halfling, Grist, Bowmaster. But then rounding it off with like the Samwise Gamgee combo. Another Grist. Oof. Grist is definitely one of the cards that the Shadow archetype has a really, really tough time dealing with. Stubborn Denial doesn't answer it. Drowning Lock a lot of times doesn't answer it on curve. So we might need to find something to fight over that. I think that this is one of those matchups that a card like Stern Scolding could be pretty good. Counter the dorks early, counter the bowmaster, counter the grist. Because if you don't know, grist is a 1/1 insect on the stack. So Stern Scolding can in fact pop a grist. But that might be a card worth trying out, see how it does. Get our bowmaster down. They do have a Samwise. I would love a second bowmaster here to be able to attack him, but unfortunately we don't get the luxury. So instead, we're staring down Ranger Captains. I should have just killed the Samwise in response to the Ranger Captain, but I kind of wanted to see what they got, to see if it was something that I needed to be able to counter. More Ranger Captains. Or Viscera here. So now they have Cauldron Familiar, Viscera here in hand. If they have another land in like a Samwise and they have the combo rolled up and I can't fight over it, I should... Yeah, I should have cracked the EE right there. Bowmaster my Bowmaster. As Richard Garfield intended. I definitely should have cracked the EE end of turn. All right. So if you don't know this combo, if you haven't run into it yet, Samwise Gamgee says whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you make a food token. So with Samwise, Cauldron Familiar, and a sack outlet, whether that be Viscera Seer, I've seen Woe Strider, Goblin Bombardment, whatever the case may be, you sacrifice your Cauldron Familiar to whatever your sack outlet is. Bring it back with a food that you have, usually like a food that you create after you play Samwise, playing either the Cauldron Familiar or the Viscera here. And then you use that food to sack to the Cauldron Familiar, get it back, trigger again. It makes another food because of Samwise. You sack it again with your sack outlet. The issue is with this combo, there is not a spot that you can interact, as long as they have the food needed to get back Cauldron Familiar like more than once. So for example, if I respond to, I don't know, the scry on the Viscera Seer here, they can get back the Cauldron Familiar at instant speed and combo in response to the Endurance. If they have no food or one food on board and they need to sack it to get back the Cauldron Familiar, I can respond to that with playing the Endurance, and that'll shut it off. But because they have the second food here and they can just get back Cauldron Familiar again, then I can't actually fight over it with the Endurance. If I crack EE, they can respond to me cracking EE with combo killing me. And the fact that it does not require anything to not have summoning sickness means you do have to be careful to make sure you're not dead at like any point. But ultimately, Samwise is like the cornerstone of the combo. So if you need to interact with Samwise. Kill it when you can, counter it on the stack, whatever the case may be. What I should have done earlier was drown and lock the Samwise in response to the first Ranger Captain, so they wouldn't have gotten that first food. They'd be at one less now. And if they sacked that one to get back the Cauldron Familiar, I could respond with Endurance, exile or shuffle the cat back in, stop the combo. So that is that's our Sultai League. It's unfortunate to go 4-0 into 4-1, especially like the 4-0-8-0 into 4-1-8-2. But at the same time, I think we learned a lot of valuable information about some of the cards we have here. Like Bowmaster was fairly solid. Goyf, Shadow were good. Stub was great. Drown was good. As far as changes for the next league, Tireless Tracker did absolutely nothing that league outside of being a vanilla 3-2 like once or twice. So I'm thinking about replacing the Tireless Tracker with something. I considered Grist. I considered Traverse the Ulvenwald. I haven't made any sort of decision yet, but just something kind of productive. I really want a card advantage engine, but I'm not sure what that's going to be for me. In the sideboard, Collector Roof, I think, can go. Natural State, Assassin's Trophy are all kind of So I'll be kind of messing around with that. I really like the idea of the Ford Dothy from Demir, so I'm probably going to try that out at some point. A lot of people think it's like a Nombo with Drown in the Lock. I don't think that's the case. Most of the stuff that Drown in the Lock is hitting, you'll be able to hit even if Dothy is there. But it gives you a little more threat consistency. Definitely adding one more blue source, at least one more. And it might be something as simple as a waterlogged grove over the nurturing peatland, though I'd probably rather have it be a fetchable source. So maybe second watery grave, just in general, and cut like the 12th fetch. But we'll see about that. I want to make sure I keep my black sources up for Turok. And yeah, hope you enjoyed my my take on Sultai Shadow. As always, if you're enjoying the commentary, enjoying the content, feel free to, words and tongue twisters. Feel free to drop a sub on the page down below. Doesn't cost you anything, just lets you know whenever new videos go live. Other than that, link to the Twitter down below. First place to gets updated when the stream goes live, as well as the link to the stream and the deck list down below. As always, hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Stay safe, enjoy some good food and company. We will catch y'all back live later. Adios for now.